In this session, we are going to, instead of you watching me write Hyperlambda, you are going to create Hyperlambda. And specifically, you are going to create a custom authentication system. And here is the specification for the system. It needs to be a custom HTTP GET endpoint. You need to manually write it in Hyperlambda. Piece of advice, create your own module. Name it, for instance, custom_auth. Then you're going to have to use auth.ticket.create and return a JWT token to the caller. However, before you do this, you're going to have to create your own database, call it custom_auth, having two columns being named username and password. And you need to verify that the password is correct before you return the JWT token back to the caller. Now, piece of advice is to use the documentation, and this exercise requires that you are going to have to use, first of all, you're going to remember how to create an HTTP GET endpoint. Second of all, you're going to have to remember how to visually design a database with an add fields to it. Third of all, you're going to have to remember how to use the auth.ticket.create to create a JWT token. You don't have to do roles lookup. You only need one database and one table with probably username, or users should probably be its name, and then the name of the database should be custom auth. However, you should probably add the user to like a static role called guest, such that every single user invoking your endpoint automatically is associated with the role called guest. Now, you would have to use if, you would have to use else, you would have to return, for instance, failure conditions. And a piece of advice is, of course, to use the documentation for everything it is worth. Before you start, I'm going to give you some advice. First of all, click the documentation, click the hamburger menu, and find magic.lambda.auth. This is what is documenting the auth.ticket.create slot that you are going to have to use. Second of all, I want you to do something that I haven't even showed you, which you can find in magic.lambda here at the top, which is I want you to use the throw keyword. Why? Because if the password is wrong, I want you to throw an exception. Second of all, you are of course going to have to use the if slot to check to see if the password is correct. And third of all, you're going to have to use the SQL Studio, and more specifically its database designer, to create a new database and add a new table to that database and add two new fields to that database. So with that in mind, I wish you good luck.